Instagram people. Ali is talking to me right now through Zoom on my computer, so you can't hear her, but you will hear her in a minute, and then we'll kind of get to this.
And I'm so upset. I am, no, you don't understand. I've been telling everybody you were going to be on here, and I got people waiting for you on Facebook. And they're not going to get to see you, but it's all good. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started, okay? So that I don't like keep you longer than what you're supposed to be. Hi, everybody. This is Voices of the Movement. It is being pre-recorded due to technical difficulties. We're here for our bi-weekly show, which is a platform for individuals who are in the movement and who are doing things to basically dismantle racism. And I love it now because we have Adam Singh's in the timber, and who is actually indigenizing colonized spaces, which really we all need to be doing. And so before we get started, I just want to do a land acknowledgement. And to acknowledge that I am hosting this live stream from the land of the Piscataway people, who are the stewards of this region and the state, including the DC area. It is our responsibility to recognize who tribal lands we are on, and to recognize that the indigenous peoples here of the Americas, they are still under occupation, they are still resisting. And it is our responsibility to know what their 21st century issues are and how can we support them. And they're not looking for saviors, y'all. It's reach out to the tribal group and figure out in which way, you know, and how you can support their movement, because their movement, it's here. It's always been here, but it is here now in your face. And so wherever you are, whatever state you're in, it is your responsibility to find out whose tribal lands that you're on. And if they're not there, who in that, which tribal group is, so that you can support them. And so with that being said, I am now going to take a step back, because I talked a little bit longer than I intended, and I'm going to hand it over to Adam Singh's in the timber so he can introduce himself.
All right, thank you. By the way, are you on Instagram yet? Because I would like to rope you in.
Yeah, I am. It's froze. Do you want me to start over? I am. Do you want me to hit the thing again?
Yeah, if you could just start over, then I can bring you in on there.
Okay,
and then...
I'm hitting it and it's froze.
Okay.
Here, hold up. Let me see something. Okay, let me let me find you all over again.
Yeah, so I was just asked a bunch of questions on Instagram, so I feel like a few of them I could totally just start there.
Do that, absolutely.
I feel like they're really great at asking me questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Sarah and Maria.
asked a bunch of questions on this.
Oh, someone asked me if I'm painting. I don't paint. I'm not a painter. I'm a photographer, which is I would love to paint. I'm a photographer because I can't paint. I can't draw, and I've always wanted to paint and draw, but I can't. So that's why I picked up a camera.
I love it.
So let me see if I can get you. So let me know when you're on Instagram. Oh, there you go. Okay, so I'm gonna invite you. Okay.
Okay. And I have to. Oh, okay.
Okay, there you are. All right. So, Ali, can you see people's comments
yes,
on the screen? Okay.
I see Sarah.
Okay, great. So I was asked a bunch of questions and they kind of got lost a little bit in the way. And so what we're doing here is Ali invited me to speak on her Facebook page, which isn't live right now, but we're live here on my Instagram page. So no, I mean, it's technology, and that's just kind of how we're doing stuff, right? Yeah. So, and so I'm, cross live streaming here on my Instagram page. So I feel like this should be a conversation, right? So anything you want to ask me would be great.
Okay.
Oh, so it says the echo. The echo is coming from you. So maybe, Ali, if you turn down your... It's
my phone.
It's your phone. So you know what I'm doing actually is I plugged in my headphones into my phone.
Okay.
And so now they're just, that's how I got rid of my echo.
Can you give me a second to go get my headphones?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll talk to my Instagram, which will also be talking to your Zoom.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So what was the question? Sarah, you asked me a question, and then it got kind of lost in the thing. So so Ali is going to get headphones now to fix the echo. So we'll get this ready. I mean, I'm sure that not everyone does like the whole cross, like Zoom and Instagram live thing. And so there's always like a hiccup and there's always a glitch. So hi everybody again. My name is Adam Sings in the Timber. I'm an Absaliga photojournalist and portrait photographer. And Sarah just asked, how has Indigenizing colonized spaces in your journey doing that to move you towards future projects? I guess for me, my work, what I do as a photographer is well, I'll back up a little bit. And when I first kind of picked up a camera, the first thing I ever photographed was Indigenous people. I photographed, I worked at the Indian Community School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I was also a student a long time ago, but I also photographed the students there. Typos, yeah, typos.
No,
it's an inside joke with me and Sarah. Anyways, so I was a photographer. I picked up a camera, and from day one, I photographed Indigenous people, just because that was who I was around, way back, early 2000s probably. And I eventually went to school for journalism at the University of Montana, and my goal was to just be a journalist. I just wanted to be a photojournalist. My goal was to work for a daily newspaper, go out every day, and just work on sort of daily stories. That's all I cared about at the time. But I also noticed that there was an Indigenous voice lacking in journalism. So,
still is.
Oh, someone asked, can I mute my phone or my computer? I don't know if I can do that. Oh, Ali, can you hear me through like your Zoom? Maybe if you mute your Zoom and put your headphones in, if that works. Because I wonder if people are, and then or just mute yourself maybe. Mute the phone and the computer when I'm talking, maybe. How's that? Is there still an echo, anybody? Okay. Oh, there's still an echo. I don't know how to get rid of the echo. I hear no echo. I don't hear anything.
There's no echo on my end.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I put my headphones actually in my phone, so it may be them.
Okay. So okay. What if I take? Oh, can anyone hear me now? Oh, I can. Yeah, I don't know what the echo is. I took my headphones on.
And why am I hearing this?
Some people hear an echo, some people don't.
Yeah. It's technology. Know. It's, in the end, this is what sucks about technology. It's overloaded. We're all home in a pandemic, a wealthy nation's pandemic, by the way. But the whole point is our system is overloaded.
All right, so I just turned on a bunch of my stuff. So is there still an echo, people out there? Oh, there's no echo. Okay. Okay, great. So what I did, it was my fault.
Okay.
I acknowledge it was my fault. So I have so much stuff, and I turned down my phone, even though I'm plugged into this headphone jack. I plugged it down. So I hope, oh, it looks like it works. Okay. All right. All right, I don't even know where I was, but we'll start over. Okay, we'll kind of start over.
You took pictures with Indigenous people. This is okay. This has been interesting. It's kind of fun. I'm glad.
Someone says, oh, there's still an echo. I don't know where the echo is coming from. So hopefully I'll talk and hopefully not echo too much. I don't know.
Yeah, let me pull my thing back. Okay.
So maybe Ali, if you mute while I'm speaking,
absolutely.
And maybe that'll work because I don't know any other way to do this. It says people are saying you need to put your ear pods on. In your ears, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, if you can hear me through your speakers, maybe you shouldn't be listening to me through your speakers either on Zoom or on your phone, and you just put whatever you can hear me in your ears, whether it's your phone and maybe turn down your speaker, your computer speakers, turn those down, and then put your ear pods or headphones into your ears.
Look, y'all, I don't know how to do all that.
No.
I'm just messing with you.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me get my other I have I have an entanglement going on right now, and so I'm just y'all. That was a joke, and so give me a second. But you still talk, Adam. Like we still,
Okay, yeah.
because I'm interested in what you're saying because I
Okay,
don't have an
so
echo on my end, and so I still want to hear.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe if you can turn your microphone off on your computer, and then I'll just talk. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so so where was yeah, so like I wanted to just be a daily newspaper photographer. That was my my dream to just, or not my dream, but that was my goal. And then just seeing that there were not very many Indigenous photographers out there, but the ones that there were there, I'm like, I really want to do what you do. And so I felt like there was a lacking of voice of Native people, you know. Like I grew up seeing what's his name's photos. I don't even remember. Like it totally slipped my mind. The photographer, the really famous one,
Curtis. His name
Edward
is
Curtis.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So like I grew up seeing his photos, and as I've made more photos in my life, I just wanted to reclaim, you know, our story as Indigenous people. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been using my work to photograph Native people from a Native standpoint, right? And so that has just been my driving force my entire sort of career, was an Indigenous voice, an Indigenous photographer, photographing Indigenous people for us. Like I'm photographing Indigenous people for Indigenous people. And so that's just where I kind of come from, and that's where my passion is. And so to start on my sort of the journey of my project was, it started with, I wanted to do something beyond what I normally do, which is sort of documentary work, right? So what I sort of did was I thought of a portrait project where I wanted to highlight Indigenous women who are our mothers, you know, they are the life bringers. I wanted to show them on land that was once where we lived on, where we inhabited, that is now occupied by colonizers, by non-Native people. One, to show them that we're still here, that we still have a voice within the Native community. Oh, there's still an echo. I'm so sorry, everyone. I don't know how to get rid of the echo. My phone is off. I don't know how to turn off my echo. Anyways, so yeah, so I've been doing that. I've been working on that. I work on my journalism here and there, and I continue my project. Although the last few months I haven't been able to work on my project because of COVID. Like all of us, we aren't able to do our work because of COVID. I've been doing here and there, and I've been doing a little bit of portrait shoots. So, you know, I hope to do more of it. I'm currently working on a short film, sort of with a few of my friends and collaborators, to sort of bring Indigenizing colonized spaces to sort of a film, a moving picture kind of thing. And I've done one thing. Oh, there's no echo now, so that's good. I don't know what we did. I don't know what was fixed, but so yeah, so I've been working on that. And I really sort of, you know, I know I feel like I'm kind of rambling.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I wasn't a portrait photographer, so I've sort of been doing the portrait thing in order to just learn more about my craft as a photographer, because I, like most people, I hope, am constantly trying to educate myself and learn more things. Like here within COVID, I have delved into types of photography that I don't normally do. One is like landscape photography. I'm not a landscape photographer. At least I wasn't. I don't know if I am yet. Maybe I'm a baby landscape photographer. But I've been doing more of that, and it's fun, right? And you know, I have been trying to also like think of how, like, well, I've been doing all these landscapes works. Now, how can I incorporate that into my project? You know, like I've been, how can I learn something new and also use it to highlight Indigenous people? And that's sort of what I've been doing. And
question.
the one thing, I'll give you a
ahead.
question in one
Yeah,
second,
no,
but I
no,
was
go
just
ahead.
wanting to think about
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that popped into my head.
yeah.
So one of the reasons that that I'm doing what I do, and real quick,
I know you're fine.
is
And I'm gonna turn my thing off so people
okay,
can see you, so they can see you.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So the one thing that I've sort of from the beginnings of my photographic journey as a journalist is I always seen so many like negative depictions of natives in media, in journalism, like alcoholism, poverty, no one's smiling, everyone's sad, like sad natives, stoic natives were like the thing, right? But I wanted to show smiles with my work. Like I could do like sad, poverty, alcoholism, but I didn't want to do that. I could do drug addiction, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted my work to highlight Indigenous people as we are, as so many of us are, where we are proud of our culture. We have our traditions and our ceremonies, and we're smiling. Like I love making photos of Native people when they're smiling, because we're always so stoic, and I know I post a lot of selfies where I'm like stoic and stuff, but that's not really who I am. I'm not super stoic, right? So like a lot of my work, I like to show happiness and smiles when it comes to Indigenous people. So that, that was one of the things where I started as an Indigenous person, as an Indigenous storyteller / photographer. Okay. Anyway, so Ali, you had a question?
Yes, and it's like really, I don't think it's inappropriate, but it's just the woman in me. Tell me, have you, because I will say this, in the Black community, in the African American community, a lot of our photographers, actually, I want to say artists. I don't want to say photographers, but a lot of our artists are really honing, since this cultural shift has taken place of us as a melanated people, of trying to reclaim identity, reclaim our spaces, reclaim our narrative and our voices. We're starting to do a lot of art that is focused on quote unquote Black love. Like we're starting to see the pictures people are drawing, they're taking photographs of us. And of course, and when I say intimate, not so much like sexualized, but just of us holding, loving, that love piece that we were impacted by regarding the legacy of slavery. And so I was wondering if that had ever if you had ever thought about doing photographs, and maybe you have, and I just haven't seen them, of Indigenous, and I hate to say Indigenous love, but we've been beat down as a people. And so our love stories are not told, or if they are, it's either with another colonized person, or it's watered down, or there's always, at least I know, especially in my community, there's our love, there's always some semblance of that our love is not pure, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't show the essence of our love, between the feminine and the masculine energy, and I was wondering if that had ever crossed your mind as you are taking photos of Indigenous people, of your people in these spaces of Indigenous love, because I know that that's something in our community that we've always had to try to overcome and struggle. That's been our struggle, is showing that no, we just aren't in the streets, gang banging and everything. We do, quote unquote, we make love too. You know what I mean? We have children, we have families, we have intimate moments, we have personal romantic moments. And so has that ever been something on your radar, or it's just not your thing, or what do you think?
I feel like there's a lot for me to unpack there, so I'm going to try to unpack all of that.
Yes.
I guess, one of the things, like one of my driving motivations as a photo maker, as a documentarian, is to sort of, the one was to have an Indigenous voice telling our story. But the other thing too was for future generations. Like I want my children, I want my grandchildren, I want all the other Native children to see who we are in this moment, who Native people are now, And I think that comes from a place of love, because I love my children. I love, and I will, hopefully have grandchildren someday, and I will love them, and I want them to see who we are. And so like my work and what I do is because of my love for my people and for myself as an Indigenous person. It's like, I'm so proud of who we are as a people and how much we've overcome, you know, like, you know, there are things that, you know, like I don't remember the writer, it's somewhere, and I'll hopefully share it, but there was this thing where the writer compared that show, The Walking Dead, to Indigenous people, in that we are, as Native people, living in a post-apocalyptic world, right?
Yes.
And so we are, that is our life. Like this is not who we once were. And so, so like my sort of like, when I think about like love and it's, I'm surviving and we're surviving, and I want us to survive because we love our children and our family and our relatives. And so I trying to answer the question because there's so much there, but
it is. I know. It is. Yeah. No. I know. I get it. It is a lot to it, and I do recognize that things are not as simplistic as it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? As it could be, and there are complexities to it. You know, and also to what we think of as love and what we want to focus on. So no, you know, I definitely get it. I'm asking you this question, but I'm not having that conversation. In my own community, I'm letting somebody else do it. I'm trying to break down the system. You know.
You know, I think one of the things that when it talks about love and trying to break down certain things that I at times talk about, I don't talk a lot about my personal self, really, you know, because I don't want the story to be about me. You know, I want it to be about the people that I photograph, which are my people, right? But I don't talk a lot about myself, mostly because I feel like the people that I photograph, my people, are the story, and I'm not so much the story. But the one thing that I want to talk about is like the idea, at least for me, from my point of view, my perspective, is like masculinity and like asking for help and or like not asking for help, not telling people that you're hurting or you're in pain. Like, you know, like 12 years ago, I first started seeing a therapist, right? Just because, you know, like many of us suffer from mental
trauma.
Like mental trauma or just mental, like we just have to get through some things. And sometimes talking and like getting out there and like, you know, I know there are a lot of Native men who probably don't want to admit that maybe they're a little bit weak, but no, I feel like we need to talk about that, you know? I feel like I want to do my best to encourage other Native men and women, or whoever is listening, that sometimes you just need to ask for help, you know? You just gotta like say, I can't really figure this out. I just, see a therapist and just does all this. So I really encourage that, you know, like there's so much, you know, like suicide is a thing, you know, like I know that there's missing and murdered Indigenous women, and that's like, that's a thing, like that's, you know, like from my tribe, there are so many, but there's also this thing about suicide, and I don't really, you know, and I want to make sure that people highlight, I want to try to do my part in saying, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help, to speak to a therapist, to say, I'm weak and I need your help. And, you know, that's just one of the things that I try to do my best when I talk about it. Like for me, like when Chris Cornell passed, that was huge.
That was huge for me. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Look, you about to make me start crying. I was
and for me as a photographer, I have photographed people who, you know, months, years later, who I find have taken their own life, and that really affects me, you know, like I have a best friend, you know, I had a best friend, you know, his name was Bob, and he took his own life, and that devastated me. I think about him every day. He was like my brother, and I think about him all the time, and I photographed him. I have really good photos of him dancing, and his family displayed them at his, you know, at his ceremony, and you know, and that gets me all the time. That gets me when I'm like, I've made a photo of someone and I find out, and that really, like, I have to take a lot of time to just like
decompress.
Decompress. And I find the photo, I give it to the family, and you know, hey, I photographed, you know, it's just, you know, anyways.
I know, but what you're doing, what I think is so beautiful about that is that you are immortalizing that person, you know, and you are immortalizing, and I don't want to say their spirit, but at least their image. And so there is a remembrance, you know, of them, you know, even though they've crossed over and their journey, you know, their journey is in the other realm. And so I think that is beautiful. And let me say this, especially coming from the African American community, what you're doing, I think, is phenomenal, because, you know, in our community, people don't realize it, but it's only been until, I want to maybe say, and I could be wrong because it's been a minute since I've learned this information, it wasn't until like the 60s and 70s that African Americans really started being able to actually start taking photos. And then even then it depended on your family. Like, we don't have photos of our, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have those tokens of remembrance. We know about certain people in our family based off of oral tradition. And so I think that you creating these, creating these photos, you know, and these images, these are going to be the things that people are going to be able to carry, you know, for centuries, for futures to come. And not only just those families, but also your community and this nation, you know, or whatever happens when this nation falls and we become another type of indigenous nation. Let me stop. I'm just trying to throw that vibration out there. And so, you know, and so it's going to be your you know, your photos and other individuals that are taking these photos, they are going to be what we're going to look back on, you know, and from our next 7 to 10 generations are going to be able to look at and be like, hey, this is what was going on during this, you know, this period of time. Because I think I saw one of your photos, and it was you, and there were some indigenous sisters with you, and they were dressed in their traditional regalia. And I want to say, I think you were in front of a monument. You know, I don't know, you were in front of something. And I can't remember where you were, because I ain't gonna lie, I mean, I was all up in your Facebook. When I was looking for a photo to put on you know, on your flyer and everything. But I remember seeing that picture and thinking that that picture is revolutionary, because I can tell you right now, 10 years, I want to say 5 years ago, at least in my world, you know, and the African American community is pretty colonized. I'm just going to speak very frankly. We're very colonized. And so therefore we live in a colonized world, and we walk that way. And I can tell you now, being an educator, I'd never seen a picture like that before. Like, when I saw your picture, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And even now, if you open up a history book, pictures like yours are not in it. You're more or less quick to see. And what is his name? I know his name is Curtis, but I cannot remember what his whole name is, because in the history books, and when we go ahead.
Edward Sheriff Curtis.
Okay, so it's okay, Edward. Okay, yes,
yeah.
yes, Edward Curtis. And so in his, you know, as a history teacher, his photos are the ones that we use. You know, like when we get the little package that shows you what you can use, it's his photos, you know, and they're everywhere. When we do these strategies, they're called like primary based, document based, you know, analysis sheets or whatever. If we're doing indigenous people, guess whose photo it is? It's his. And so I think what you're doing, I think it's very, very powerful. And you are making a film, you are, you know, you're doing photography, and you are an advocate or activist. And so what is near and dear to your heart? Because I know that, because in my eyes, you are literally like an artistic advocate. I mean, activist, not advocate, activist, because what you are doing is revolutionary. But what cause is near to your heart? Because I know that you said suicide and tackling, you know, masculinity, the issues of, because I call it colonized masculinity, because I know that through colonization is the reason why melanated men have been shaken, you know. And so what is that one thing that you are focused on that is near and dear to your heart, that you do kind of put your soul in, or you put your spirit in, you know, besides your pictures?
You mean besides my pictures? You know,
yes, because I know
mean,
your pictures is your life.
Yeah. Well, actually, I started life as a musician, right? So,
Okay.
like I started playing guitar when I was 12, and I
Wow.
went to an art high school. I played guitar like 2 to 3 hours a day in school,
Oh, wow.
plus yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I wanted to be a professional musician. So my first year of college was studying music, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really what I wanted to be. And then I took some time off, but I also wanted to be creative. And I had
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to draw. I can't
Mm-hmm.
draw. Like I always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be like an artist, but I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up a camera,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, it's just where my life sort of
So
started. Like
it's your camera.
yeah, I still play music on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Here I have a guitar always by me. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the guitar that I play all the time.
You gonna play us a tune?
No, I'm not gonna play. No, I'm not. I'm really out of practice. But if anyone ever wants to know, I play Paul Reed Smith guitars.
Okay.
I love it because it's got like little bird inlays. These are little birds.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that was my other interest was
Mm-hmm.
playing music. So music
Mm-hmm.
is a huge part of my life.
Okay.
I listen to so much music, and whenever I'm editing and doing all this stuff, and I listen to all sorts of music, and I really listen to all sorts of music.
Okay.
I always like talk about like when someone says, "What's your favorite album?" And I actually have two favorite albums because
Okay.
I cannot figure out which one is
Mm-hmm.
more favorite. And so the first one is Metallica, Master of
Okay.
Puppets, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
And the other one is Miles Davis. Yeah,
Oh,
Miles
wow.
Davis, Kind of
Okay.
Blue. I love
Uh-huh.
that. I listened to that since I was like, both of them since I was like
Mm-hmm.
15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two albums that I have always listened to. I listen to them all the
Go
time
way
still.
back.
Yeah, Miles Davis and
Yeah.
Metallica.
Oh,
Those are
wow.
my jams right there.
Wow. And so your future. So what is it that you see in your future after COVID?
Well, I don't, I'm
I
just gonna
know.
try to pick up,
Mm-hmm.
continue to work. Like currently I'm based in Providence, Rhode Island,
Okay.
but only for another, let's see, month and a half, two
Mm-hmm.
months, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're moving to California.
Oh,
So I will
wow.
start doing my work in the
Okay.
Bay Area. So yeah,
Okay.
so I will be hopefully doing my work in, you know, Oakland, San Francisco,
Oh,
Berkeley.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
and
yeah. So
there are some, I think California has a very large population of Indigenous. They have a
that's
very,
yeah.
I don't want to say
So yeah.
concentrated, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be among those
Yeah.
indigenous people in California. Like I'm
Yeah.
really excited to like
I
work
am
with
too.
them
I'm ready to see
and
them
like
pictures.
yeah, yeah.
I'm ready to see the pictures. There's this one tribe that I know that they're like fighting for dear life in regards to identity, and their numbers are shrinking. And I cannot remember the indigenous group's name, but I kind of pay attention just a little bit, out at, but also too, it's because my son is in California. And so I kind of, I kind of, out on the West Coast and everything. But, oh, wow. So you're moving. And so any
Yeah.
new projects besides your filmmaking projects?
Not really, just trying once the COVID is, trying to
Yeah.
figure that out, like a lot, some of my work is portraiture. Some of it is
Mm-hmm.
like doing freelance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like I get like occasional jobs to like
Mm-hmm.
photograph a native conference for the native
Mm.
people.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's that's some of the stuff that I do. Yeah.
Are you working with any other Indigenous? Let me say this, you're the first Indigenous photographer that I've seen do the work that you do. And I know that there are Indigenous photographers out there, but I kind of see that you're doing something a little bit different. You're a little bit in the forefront. And so do you sometimes feel like you're alone out here doing this work, doing the work that you do, and it being focused, because you are focused on your people, like again, you are breaking the legacy of the doctrine of discovery, of colonialism. And so do you sometimes feel like you are by yourself and you wish that there were other people doing your work? Or are you like okay being that lone?
I'm,
you know,
I'm not
autonomous.
like maybe 15 years ago when I first started, I
Uh-huh.
felt a little more alone.
Uh-huh.
But no, like in that time, there are so many
Mm-hmm.
photographers
Mm-hmm.
who are native have
Okay.
been coming up. Like
It's just people like me
um,
that don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I don't know
It
who
is.
knows me. I don't know who knows who or
Uh-huh.
what. So I don't know. But from my perspective, there are a lot of really great indigenous photographers out
Mm-hmm.
there who inspire me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am so inspired by so many of them that I'm like
Mm-hmm.
I never look at it as a competition. I
Mm-hmm.
look
Of
at it as
course
like,
not.
wow,
Yeah.
that person's work they're doing great
Yeah.
work, and I'm like at a loss for names.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, no worries. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No need to.
yeah, except for you, Jessica Sargent. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's okay. She's online with me.
Is she?
But for the most part, there's so many, and I like portrait photographers. I
Mm-hmm.
do, but my first love when it comes to the type of photography is like journalism. I love
Mm-hmm.
photojournalism. I love
Mm-hmm.
documentary photographers, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that there are mostly, well, I don't know if I know this, but from what I've seen, there's mostly portrait photographers who are
Mm-hmm.
native. But like,
Mm-hmm.
like when I think of them, like I have a friend and we went to school together, Russell Daniels. Like
Mm-hmm.
his work, like was like I love his work. It's still
Mm-hmm.
today,
Mm-hmm.
And there's a one that I've just started following, and Taylor Irvine. I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I think I'm saying your name right. She's a photojournalist, and I
Mm-hmm.
love photojournalism. I love seeing that documentary type of photography.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so like from someone's point of view,
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the only ones, but not from my point of view. From my point of
Yeah.
view, there are so many
Uh-huh.
indigenous voices, photographers telling our story in a really good way, and I love seeing that. I love seeing that, and so like it makes me happy. Like, like my son, he's 10
Mhm.
years old, but he likes making photos. I don't think
Yeah.
he's going to be a journalist. He wants to be
Yeah.
an engineer. He wants to
Okay.
like
Build stuff.
invent stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
he
love
wants to
it.
make things and
Yeah.
make, yeah, but
Uh,
he makes photos,
Oh,
so
I
I don't know.
love it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Have you been, so, we're in the midst of a revolution. We have uprisings that are taking place like in all 50 states. Have you been able to photograph any of what's going on and like the indigenous aspect of it, the indigenous movement? Because, um, those are the things that we don't see. Like we know that, like even me, I can't even remember how I came across you. Like, but I will say it came across my Facebook and there was a photo of you and I was like, oh, okay, and then I started following you and I was like, oh, okay, he does photography and da 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 da, and so it's like I forgot the question I was going to ask. Where was I
Well,
going with this? Oh, it
yeah,
was
I don't
about
know.
the uprising and you know what I mean, and things like that. It's like we don't see. I believe the reason why you ended up on my Facebook stream is because I do follow other indigenous people, and I have indigenous friends, and so they're posting things and these things are coming, you know what I mean? Like they're coming to me. But I also recognize that until I started including indigenous presence on my social media, I didn't have access to it. I had to be very intentional with trying to find what I was finding. And it made me realize that, okay, because if I had not been intentional, I would have not known anything about the indigenous world. I would have really truly believed that everything was black and white. That includes photography. Because I know a couple of photographers and they're African American, you know what I mean? And usually people tend to stay within their community or they deal with the norm. And so, of course, in the United States, the norm tends to be very, very black and white and very few in between. And so, and the indigenous is not in between. When it comes to being at the table, the indigenous should always be at the table. And so when it comes to the movement, even though we know there is indigenous presence in the movement, we don't see it. And the scary part is that even if we are seeing it, we may not recognize it because you all are not monolithic. And so that's where I'm going with this questioning, and I'm going to step back and let you approach it, answer it.
Yeah, there was a rally here a couple of months ago when Mr. Floyd was murdered.
Yes.
I went to that. I went
Mhm.
to it though as a participant, not a
Yes. Yes.
journalist. I
Yes.
made photos there.
Mhm.
So I took my phone and I took a film camera because I
Mhm.
wasn't like I'm gonna document this because
Yeah.
I knew there was gonna be so many, but I wanted to like as a person of color, I wanted to
Yeah.
like be like this is solidarity, you know.
Yes.
I
Yes.
obviously I made photos with my phone and a film
Mhm.
camera,
Mhm.
but that wasn't like my I don't know my
Intention.
impetus. Yeah,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
intention, impetus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
why I went, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so like I obviously we're in solidarity. There's not
Mhm.
very many of us, within the nation, but for me, like I follow so many, a lot of Native people follow me.
Mhm.
It's a small community, sort
Mhm.
of, in numbers, but I feel like we're really tight knit, like we're really close, because of social media. There was a report and I can't find it, and I'm gonna probably misquote it,
It's
but it
okay.
does talk about like how as Native people we've really embraced social media and
Mhm.
to connect us together as a people.
Mhm.
Um, and so like most of my followers, probably, I definitely most, I can't say
Mhm.
all obviously, but
Mhm.
most of my followers are Native, and
Mm.
I only photograph Native people.
Yeah.
Well, not only, not just because
And that's
that's what I do,
okay.
right?
It's okay if you do.
Yeah. So like, so like,
Yeah.
like within our community, we're strong and
Mhm.
we're like, we're close, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
like, I can't speak to what it's like why non-natives don't see my work, right? But
Mhm.
again, I'm not making photos
Mhm.
for non-native
Mhm.
people.
I
They're
dig
like the
it.
secondary, like the second tier,
Yes.
like
I love it.
my, yeah, yeah.
I
So
love
my
it.
first
Yeah.
tier of making photos is Native people,
Yeah.
and then if you want to get more than that, my first tier is then Crow people, my tribe, but
Ah,
then it's
okay.
everyone else. So
Yeah.
yeah, so my audience, I make photos for Native people. Like
Mhm.
I'm an Indigenous photographer. I photograph Indigenous people
Mhm.
for Indigenous people.
Love it.
I think I said that right. I don't know,
Yeah, you said it
but
right.
yeah,
It's just like FUBU, for us, by
yeah,
us. I got you.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
so I think that's good.
So at some point, we've only got a few minutes, but I would love
Yes.
to like open it up to Q&A.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
any, to whoever's like following, because I started at the beginning and then we kind of like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to hit your people up? Because I don't know.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. If anyone out there on Instagram wants to
Yeah.
ask me a question about my work or any kind of gear or anything like that, I'm totally open. If you
Yeah.
right now,
I know he's
go,
like right now.
go.
I know. You got a lot of hearts going on, and so I know
Yeah, I
that.
see a bunch of that. Yeah.
I
So
know. And so you guys got any questions?
I could talk about like, I mean, I used to shoot Canon.
Mhm.
That was where I used to shoot Canon cameras, and
Mhm. Mhm.
but
Oh,
I
can I
moved
jump
to
in real quick?
yeah,
I have to ask this question. Because so out of all the countries you've been to, which country, and you cannot say home. Like you can't say the United States, you can't say Montana, all right,
okay.
Minnesota, you can't say, all right, you can't say out of every other country you've been to or any other place, so we'll make it wider. Which space or place has been your favorite to take pictures? Like which place?
Well, if we so there's a couple of questions I want to get to those, but I
Okay,
will after I answer your question. So
okay,
when it
okay,
comes to landscapes,
okay,
Iceland. I love photographing Iceland. I was
okay,
only there once, but
okay.
the people, Kenya. I love
Mm.
like
Uh,
a few months ago before the world crashed, I was in Kenya,
uh-huh.
and the people there, like I love photographing the people of Kenya
Mhm,
if it's not
mhm.
in the United States. And
I
when it
know.
comes to landscapes,
Yeah.
Iceland. So that's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Walking in Kenya, how was that as an Indigenous man with other Aboriginal people? Like, what was that experience like?
Well, it was a bit different. Like, I don't want to say odd, because I
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
said odd, but it was just different
Uh-huh.
because I'm, you know, white, right?
Yes, yes.
I almost had a little bit of white privilege, right? Or
Really?
American privilege.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, that's
so
true. That's true. Yeah,
so
yeah.
there
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was a little bit of that, but for
Yeah.
the most part, you know, it was great. Everyone was
Mhm.
nice and lovely and beautiful. And someday maybe I'll go back. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Answer
Yeah.
those questions.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where were we? I'm just kind of scrolling back.
It's okay.
Someone asked, oh, Sarah asked if I thought about teaching. Yeah, you know,
Oh.
like maybe I'll do a little bit of teaching when I get to Berkeley, or you know, like
Mhm.
this is my first Instagram live. I don't normally get on
Mhm.
like video. I don't normally like
Mhm.
show my face or anything
Mhm.
or talk too much,
Mhm.
other than like my presentations that
Mhm.
are live, you know, in person. But
Yeah.
you know, maybe I'll do more of this and do more
You
of like
should.
talking
Mhm.
about like my process, you know,
Yeah.
and what I do.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, teaching is a thing.
Mhm.
Oh, Jessica asked if I've been using my Leica. I use my Leica all the time. So, you know, like I use two cameras. I use a Fujifilm little rangefinder, but I also use a Leica film camera. And I kind of just carry them with me wherever I go. I almost carry this with me every day wherever I go.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll just have this camera
Mhm.
and my phone. That's what I do. So this was a gift. Like this was a gift. It was my dream camera for a
Wow.
very long time,
Mhm.
and it was a gift. And I actually had, like, before I had that, I actually have a really badass
Love that.
medallion
I
my
love
partner made
that.
for me. So I had
I
a
love it.
Leica on my medallion, and then that was like throwing it out to the universe, and
I
then
love
I
it.
got this camera, and I
Wow.
love shooting with this camera. I'm definitely a rangefinder person. I have two other rangefinders. I will go get them right now.
I love it. I love it.
They're different. So
uh,
this was a gift from my friend Jennifer from high school. It's a old
oh,
Canon.
wow.
It still
Mhm.
works. I love this. And this is my Minolta that my grandfather had when I was a little boy. So this
Oh,
was
wow.
literally the first camera I ever remember seeing and having, and now I shoot it. And I indigenized it with my
Love
lanyard. So
it.
there's this thing, it's like a, you know, it's like a keychain, but it
Mhm.
works really great as a wrist
I
lanyard.
love
So,
it.
you know,
I love it.
so yeah, you know, I used to shoot Canon for a long time, but I just found that I love the rangefinder style. I love like the small little camera. It's not like intimidating. I love little cameras just because people are more relaxed when I'm making photos of them. So that's that. And let's see if there's some other. I'm just scrolling back on the questions
Oh,
because I
it's
just got a
okay. Do
bunch of
you?
questions. Well, someone asked what's my favorite style, and I just said my rangefinder.
Okay.
Style. Someone asked if I have connections with Indigenous people from other parts of America. I think so. I kind of get around, you know, I get out, well, before COVID, I flew all over and I did work in other places. So I think I do. Yeah. When was the last Crow Fair I attended, and do I plan on going next year? So, you know, I mean, the last Crow Fair that I was at at Crow Fair, the campgrounds this year, but there was no Crow Fair.
Oh, wow.
I'm Crow, so I go every year. I will go every year until I move on to the other side.
Yeah,
because I'm Crow, I
Yeah.
photograph Crow Fair. So Crow, if you haven't been to Crow Fair out there, you should go. It's the best, amazing powwow ever. It's the biggest, the best. Yeah. Let's see. Someone asked if I were a dancer, what style would I do?
Oh, I know. Do you dance?
No, I would be a break dancer on some cardboard. That's what I would do. That would be my style.
No traditional, no fancy.
No, I would just be a straight old school 80s break dancer. That's what I would do.
I love it. I love it.
No, but seriously though, if I would, I'd be Crow traditional, just because I'm Crow, and then that's what I would do.
Okay.
And it's, you know, it's not really hard on the knee. It's pretty slow, I think, but it's still hard. But yeah, let's see. I'm going through this. Oh, Jessica mentioned Nadia. Yep, she's great. She's yeah, she's a I feel like she's more of a portrait, but I guess I'm not totally familiar with her work. But yeah, I don't know. So
hey, so you grew up in Montana, right?
I lived in Montana till I was 12 or 13, and
Okay,
then I
so
grew up in
okay.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay, so you were basically surrounded with Indigenous presence then.
Yeah, my whole life.
Okay, and because
And
only,
then and then when I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I went to a Native American school, so I
oh,
was
really?
surrounded there. Yeah, yeah.
What was
So
that like, if I may ask you? Because I know we got to get off,
it,
but I want to know this because you know I've never been to an all-black school, so I want to know what it's like when you're around
oh,
your
it was
people.
it was awesome coming from like
Uh,
a Western education system. You know, like
yeah.
there was a lot of day, like not every day, but we would have a pipe ceremony once a month.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
we would all get together, and then I walk into school, and someone, I don't know who, probably one of the cultural teachers, smudged, you know, where they did sage
Uh-huh.
in the hallways, and so we walk into school, and it's, you know, been cleansed, purified.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, like, and then just being around other, you know, Native kids. And then we had culture classes. Some of our teachers were Native. It was amazing. Like Indian Community School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You know,
So let me ask you this. So you
that
said,
has that is like done a lot for me as a Native person.
yeah, because I'm listening to you, and you should know that there's like this envy creeping up on my shoulder right now as you're talking about it. And but I did notice that you said that most of the teachers were Indigenous, so there were
Not
not.
most, at least when I went there, they weren't most, but there were some,
Oh, there were
and that
some.
was yeah, that
Okay.
was still nice compared. Like how many
Yeah,
Native kids had Native teachers?
yeah, and that's what I was wondering, like, you know, that if there were non-natives, if I may pry a little bit, were those non-natives of other melanated colors or were they white?
They were white,
Yeah, I know. I knew it. I just knew it. Yeah.
but they were still good. They were still, you know, they were
Yeah,
great.
I
So
know. You're so sweet. No, I'm just
yeah,
Remember, and no, I'm not saying it because one of my favorite teachers, his name was Mr. Sparks, man. I learned a lot from him. He was a white man. And so he was good people's. Um, but yeah, this is just interesting to listen to what it's like to be in an immersion in a school. And I hate to use the term immersion, but you know, you being able to be in a school that was, like you said, for Indigenous people by Indigenous people. I think that's powerful. Um,
yeah,
you know, and it helps you to be able to maintain that semblance of identity, you know, in who you are. And I love it. Like I can feel your energy. It's almost kind of scary, but I like it. I like it. And I know our time is winding down.
yeah.
Is there anything that you want people to know? I mean, I have a lot of questions, but I know we have to go because I really want to dig and pry into you so bad because your
Yeah.
videos are like they're so powerful. Um,
I guess, you know, if I can just encourage other Native people to just continue to make photos and tell your own story, and take back your narrative, take back our narrative. Like that's what I do when I make a photo is I'm taking back our narrative. And a lot of times when I'm making a photo, I also think about like generations from now are going to see this photo. And sometimes when I'm working on a portrait project or something, I think about my great grandkids seeing this photo. And the reason that I say that is because Edward Curtis photographed my great grandfather. Um,
wow, get
yeah,
out.
yeah. So, so my last name is Sings in the
Wait a minute,
Timber. It's
wait a
just a
minute.
mistranslate. It's a different translation. So his name was Sings in the Mountains. So you can Google either Victor Singer
Okay.
or Sings in the Mountains, and you'll see a photo that Edward Curtis made of my photo of my great. I don't know how many greats, but great
Okay.
grandfather.
So let me ask you this, because you shouldn't have said that, because now I have to know before I let you go. So knowing that Edward Curtis took this photo of your grandfather, of one of your grandfathers, and knowing that during that period of time, the reason why he was taking photos is because that myth had been, you know, the government has started saying that Indigenous people were dying out. And so there became this mad dash for Europeans. And when I say Europeans, just not the white people that were in this nation, but also individuals in Europe, because they also start coming over here, like out of places in Russia stuff, and getting some of your sacred, you know, things, your sacred things that were sacred to the Indigenous culture, you know, and pictures, and they start taking pictures because they think you're dying out. And so knowing that, what do you think about that? Because I've already now, look, initially I had this good feeling, but now I'm getting mad.
Yeah, I mean, so I only have a minute and a half left on my Instagram live.
Okay.
So you know, like I didn't get mad. Like I was like, hey, that's my ancestor. And I thought it was great. You know, like at the same time, I'm like, I could have done a better photo. But
Yeah.
it's really great to know that there's a photo of my great grandfather out there, and it's really good to have that photo, that. And there are other photos by other photographers of him. There's a couple by another photographer. So it's really great to see that, even though his ethics, Curtis's ethics, weren't always the best. Like, he wasn't like unethical. He just wasn't like so ethical.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, so it's great to have that. I've got 40 seconds left on my Instagram. So I
still got you. You're still recording.
yeah. Yeah.
But okay. So do you want to go ahead and say goodbye?
Yeah, sure.
I'll wind down once you're finished, okay?
Sure. So yeah, thank you everyone on Instagram for, however, there was a lot of you, and, Jessica, you were really blowing up, and you and Sarah were really blowing up my comments. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll do this again because this was fun. So I'll go live again at some point. But thank you. I've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 second.
And you're off. You're done.
I'm off.
You're done.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I had been more prepared for this is different, of this and this, and I love it. Like, you've inspired me. Like, I just want to say thank you. Like, you've inspired me. I think that from here on out, I might attempt with other people who have Instagram to do this, like to go when I fix my Zoom, but to go, to go live and to do this. But I want to say thank you, because I know this was very quick, very impromptu. And I know for me, I did have all of these questions that I had for you, but the Zoom tech thing, it threw me off. It threw me off my
That's
game.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to say thank you so much. And I hope that maybe somewhere down along the line, you would be willing to come back and speak with me, because I think that what you're doing is so important. Honestly, I am ashamed to say that you're the only Indigenous, photographer that I know of and that I follow. I do, and I'm very intentional about following the Indigenous presence and people who are doing things that are revolutionary and that are visionary and that are very unapologetic. Like, let me say this. I'm going to say, when you said this, I love the way you said, I just do this for Indigenous people. For me, that is phenomenal, because other cultures do too, and they're not apologetic about it, and I think sometimes colonialism almost puts us in this place of where we have to almost defend why we support our communities and things. And so hearing you say that with such this resolve and this, this finality, I was like, I love this. And so thank you so much. And I hope you come back, everybody, for Voices of the Movement. This was Adam Sings in the Timber. And I'm going to look up your grandfather, who I think you said was Adam.
His name is Sings in the Mountains.
Sings in the Mountains.
His English name is Victor Singer.
Okay, Victor Singer. And I'm only going to, I'm saying that because, I'm a history teacher. And so I would love to be able to pull up your pictures and, and your grandfather's and say, this is past, this is present, it's all intertwined, to bring your narrative. I try my best to bring the Indigenous narrative, present day Indigenous narrative into my classroom so my students can see who you are. And so
don't feel ashamed about just following me. Like, you got to start somewhere. We all have to start somewhere. Right?
I do, and I am on you.
So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for giving me the space to talk about my work and my people.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And so, Voices of the Movement, ladies and gents, we are definitely out, and we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next couple of weeks.